Welcome to chaos. Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. I come to you in this disheveled, disheveled and hassled and haggled and it's just been a while. I've recently moved. This is the new sewing room that you can see here. It is still very disorganized, but for now I just wanted to put my fabric away, and I thought the best way to motivate me to do it was to hold myself accountable via this camera. So something that I've wanted to do for a long time would be to catalogue my fabric stash, because I have some real issues with object permanence. So I typically buy fabric if it's like, if it speaks to me, if it's a really good deal, I do just snap it up because I'm a little bit of a dragon hoarder. And so I really wanted to catalogue it because I often buy things and then forget about them. I have a lot of boxes of fabric, and so one of my goals this year has been to use mostly fabrics from my stash, and I've been doing that quite well, so I want to keep that up for the rest of the year and next year hopefully. And so I really need to know what's in my stash, because I think I'll use it a lot more if I actually know what's in it. And to do that, I have decided to make a little fabric catalogue. Like this. I just need to get a nice folder, and then I've got these sheets that have a swatch of fabric and the information about it. Now the reason I've put this off for so long is that it does take a while, because you have to cut out a swatch of every piece of fabric that you have, and you also need to measure it and write down how much you have, because otherwise it's quite useless when you're looking for something for a project. So it does take a little while, but I've decided I'm doing it. So I've got the whole day set aside for this, so I think I can get quite a lot done. I've got some boxes to fit in the wardrobe just there, and I think I should just get to it. So I downloaded this as a free template from somewhere on the internet, and I've started with my walls. So I've decided to organise it by fibre type, just because when I'm thinking of a project, I typically just think of the right fabric type for it first, and then I decide on like colour or style or whatever. So I've decided to organise my fabric type, and I'm going to try and label the boxes so that when I look in the wardrobe I know exactly what box it is without having to pull it out. So I've accidentally started with my walls just because I actually ordered some wool right before I moved, and so that was the first box I had. I also have some fabric that won't be stashed away in the cupboard. Some will be out here, maybe some of my more precious fabric that are in nice boxes, and also my mock-up fabric and sort of what I call utility fabrics, which are like interfacings, interlinings, things I get just for that. So I guess let's get started. I need to stop putting it off. So my camera died without me realising, but I've made some good progress, and I just wanted to show you the first couple of sheets. So I've been organising it roughly by fibre type and colour, so sort of like warm tones with warm tones and cool tones with cool tones as much as I can. So for example, the end just looks like this. I know that the page has a lot more information that you can fill out, but I don't have information for a lot of these, but it does mean that new fabrics that I do buy, once I've worked through my stash, I can add more details about, because sometimes if you need extra fabric, it'd be really good to know where you actually got it from. But I've been making some good progress. I've unpacked 3 boxes, so I do still have some more fabrics to go through, and I think once I've got the boxes like nicely laid out, I can walk you through it. Okay, so it's actually 2 days later, and I'm wearing the same outfit, so it doesn't seem like it. But it's actually 2 days later, and I can't believe I thought I would have it done in a day. I did not. But I have sorted through the majority of my fabric. I have one box left, which I think is my silks, that I still need to swatch and measure. And then I have all of it kind of separated into different boxes, but those boxes need to be organised. So I'll show you how I'm doing that as well in a second. But then I thought once I've got the boxes organised, I could just show you my stash. I had a couple people ask about it on Instagram, so I might as well just share it because it's going to take me years for all this fabric to see the light of day in actually made up costumes. So yeah, I'm going to keep going though because I think it's turning out really well. And so far this is my little stack of sheets, and I need to get a nice folder for it, and then I should have my own fabric catalogue. Hello, so it's time to go through the stash because I have now sorted it into all of these boxes. I was hoping for better weather because natural light obviously shows the fabrics to their best advantage. But unfortunately there is currently a storm in the UK, so I've given up on that, and instead I'm just going to show you as they are because I need to put them away. So this box, I don't know if you can quite see, but I have labelled the boxes just with my little label maker. And these are my linens. So this is some of my most commonly used fabric because what I do is I usually buy really long lengths of plain white linen in 2 weights, like a medium heavy weight and then a lightweight. And I use the lightweight for chemises and things like that. And then the heavier weight I use to interline bodices, interline anything that needs a bit more of added structure. It's still quite a soft linen, so it's not like the historical Holland linen and things like that. So I have 2 long cuts of that. I buy them in 15 meters, and this is because I buy them from an online fabric store that often, a couple of times a year, does a huge promotion where it's basically half price, up to 15 yards. So I buy 15 yards, and I usually buy them all in one go, every couple of years, every 3 years or so. And so I can save on the shipping as well because it comes from America and that's very expensive. But that's the main half of my linen box here. And then over here at the end, I have some random cuts of linen. I have bits of that are left over from projects. So this is just some plain brown linen that I made an Obi-Wan Kenobi cosplay for my partner. I made a medieval tunic out of this beautiful blue linen for my partner as well. I made an 18th century robe à l'anglaise out of this linen. I really love it, and I still have that dress. It just doesn't fit me anymore, and I think I want to try and alter it. That's why I'm keeping the scraps. I want to try and alter it to fit me. So always keep your scraps if you can. I have about half a meter left of this beautiful sort of berry tone linen from which I made a kirtle. I think I have to let out the sleeves of that, so it's really good to have the scraps for that as well. I also made a kirtle out of this lilac linen. I actually hand sewed that kirtle with thread pulled from the linen, so I really like that. This is just a length of plain sort of greyish linen. This came from, so a couple of years ago, one of my friends was working at school, and that school had a theatre cupboard, which is a very English thing, and they had leftover fabric from like 20 years of costume making for their theatre classes and home ec and stuff, and they decided to get rid of it because they decided that the cupboard was now a fire hazard. And they gave some of it to local charity and some of it to the schools, and some of it came to me. And I've given some of that fabric away when I moved down from Glasgow. I think I gave away like 2 20-kilo boxes of that fabric, but I've kept some, and this is one of them where it's like a decent length of linen in a very usable colour. This is just some scraps from when I covered my sofa in IKEA fabric, and I've actually just stripped that fabric away from the sofa. So I have about 8 meters of usable brown linen in different cuts, so blue linen. So I definitely want to keep this for a project of some sort. And then I have small cuts of leftover from fabrics, from projects. This was from my adjustable 18th century skirt, and this was from my Lizzie Bennet dress. This was plain linen that I had dyed. So I always like to keep my scraps, specifically of linen, because it's one of my absolute favourite fabrics. So I'm going to reorganise this slightly to include my sofa linen. because the last cut of linen I have is this sort of peachy sandy colour linen, and I have about 9 meters of it. And this was also from when I reupholstered my sofa, and we just got rid of that sofa, so I've just cut away all of the fabric because that's like nearly, it originally had like 20 meters of linen in it, and I'm not gonna waste that. It's crazy. So yeah, as you can see, this box is pretty full. Ugh. But thankfully these lids are very strong. So that's my linens. I'm going to put the box aside for now, and I'll take you through the other boxes because yes, there are more. This box is my warm tone cottons. I've also labelled it. So my idea is to put these boxes in this wardrobe with the label facing out, so that when I need to find something, I can just reach for the correct box without having to be messing around. So this box has a lot of smaller cuts of linen, so I think I'm just going to show you the box because... Okay, so over in this corner we have a bunch of plain cotton cuts. These used to be old pillowcases and things, and I've also got about 3 meters of this denim, undyed denim. I actually bought that for my PhD but ended up not using it, so I'm just keeping it because it'll be useful to interline things with. It's a nice weight of cotton. I have this beautiful like diamond pattern cotton. I don't know if you can quite tell. I think I have about 5 meters of it, and when I first bought it I really wanted to make an 1840s dress because I think the 1840s styles are like really ethereal and like romantic, and I thought this with some flowers would look really lovely. I've got some scraps here of beigey kind of things. All of these are like under 1 meter or so. This is fabric that for my first Willet dye, where I used Mexican mint leaves to dye it, and it's this like, it used to be yellower and now it's more of a beige kind of tone. This is a really cute little fabric I bought 3 meters of to make a 1940s inspired dress that I still haven't got around to. I have some shorter cuts of fabric I bought in Japan. They're like flat quarters basically. These are all 1 meter scraps of nicely patterned. This is from Colonial Williamsburg, and actually it was an American friend in my MA that gave this to me because he didn't need it anymore. And then I've got some 100% cotton cuts here. Just some plain stuff, nothing too exciting. And these are my cool tone linens. So, cottons. So I've got all this cottons, but not everything in here is, number one, 100% cotton. There's some like blends, I think, although I've tried to keep most poly cotton out of here. But there's also some rame stuff, but basically it refers to the type of fabric in my head, if that makes sense. Like these are kind of roughly the same weight or function. It just makes sense to me in my head. So I have a lot of blues, weirdly though, because I never really sew with blue anymore. But I have blues and greens. A lot of these came from the same school thing that I talked about. I made my 1830s witch costume out of this, which I got in Spain, and I still have some left over. Some of these were from a grab bag from a shop called Whaley's Bradford, and they did like, I think it was 20 quid for like 5 random long cuts of 100% cotton. So I got like, this is a cotton drill that I used to interline a skirt. So like, it's really useful. This is a Liberty one that I got on sale. It's really cute. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I made some stays with this one. These are just some fat quarters that I had. I made my 1890s dress with this. It's 100% cotton. Yeah, there's like a lot of leftover from projects here. And there's some that I haven't used yet, so like this I thought was really cute. I bought in Spain as well. These lengths, I keep seeing this as the lining for an 18th century jacket in my head. I don't know why. I made my first Garibaldi shirt out of this, and there's some left over. My first 1940s dress out of this. Basically I keep all the scraps. So yeah, these are my cool tone cottons. Also bursting. Okay, so we have a box full of wools. I have a little bit of an addiction to wool. I just love it as a fabric, and basically because it's typically so expensive, whenever it's on sale, I snag it up. I just can't resist. So I have a bunch of things. So this was from the same school stuff I got, and I used this to line my 3-tier Edwardian cape. It's like a felted wool. I actually don't have confirmation that this is wool, but it felt like it to me. So that was enough to land it in this box. I have this fabric which I over dyed. It used to be a lot grayer, and I actually made some trousers out of this that never saw the light of day because they had so many fit issues that I got into such a complicated mindset about them. I couldn't fix them, I couldn't make it work. I was so frustrated, I just threw them out, but I kept the leftover fabric. I have this fabric which I really love. This is actually a wool blend, it's not 100% wool, but it has a beautiful drape and it's a nice like little brown, and I made my vintage inspired circle skirt, which is one of my most worn like self-made items of clothing ever. I also made a 1940s skirt out of this, but I've sold that on now because it didn't quite fit me. I've got some scraps of like, this is just a really nice olive green suiting that I used to make my 18th century petticoat on my like Outlander inspired costume. Again, I keep everything. This is a length of wool which is 2.70 meters, and it came from that from that school cupboard, and I just found actually that it still has an original label on it that says £2.25 a yard. So I think this is old fabric because wool has not cost that in a long time. I've got some plain black felted wool kind of thing, also from the school cupboard. This fabric is really pretty. It's a grey suiting with a stripe, 100% wool, really nice. Oh no, it's blended wool. Oh, wool and cashmere. However, I bought this to make a little walking suit half scale for a class I was taking a while back, and it's just really nice fabric, so I never wanted to get rid of it, but there's not a lot of it. There's about 1 meter, which maybe could do like a waistcoat or a jacket, maybe, with depending on the volume of the sleeves. But it's really nice, so I didn't want to throw it out. But grey isn't really in my palette anymore. I'm very warm tone now, as you know. And then we have this fabric, which I absolutely love, and this was a scrap from the school as well, but it's a textured sort of lightweight suiting in a charcoal grey. This is more in my palette, but it has almost like a herringbone effect to it. I don't know, I just really love this fabric, but there's not a lot of it, so I can't do much. I think a lot of my wools are actually grey or wool, cool toned. This is a length of wool suiting that I can't remember how I got. I think it was on sale, and so I bought it. There's quite a lot of it here. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Let's move on. And then finally, the last two cuts are actually really recent additions. I just bought these before I moved. But this is like a checked yellow kind of wool with some orange. I thought it was just beautiful and autumnal, and it was on sale when I bought it. My favourite shop was having an anniversary sale, so this was pretty affordable, and it came with free lining, so I got it. And similarly, from the same sale, this beautiful brown wool herringbone. I think these both have about 3 meters to them. Yeah, which is enough for cloaks, mantles, skirts, my favourite things. So I've got these in the box now, and I love them, so I will be doing something with them. I just don't know when, because I have a lot of fabric and a lot of plans. The last box, well, the last of these clear massive boxes are my velvets. So I have a handful of cuts of velvet that I can show you. So I have this lightweight velvet. Again, I don't really know the composition of a lot of these. I know some of them are cotton velvet and some of them are not. This one I got from the school, so I really don't know, but it's a very bright red and I thought it was really lovely. And there's a decent chunk of it, so I've kept it. There's this blue velvet, which is an upholstery fabric. I didn't know this when I bought it because I bought it online, but it has that sort of like plasticky backing, but I still used it to make an 1860s capelet, and it actually worked out alright because it's quite stiff, so it's good for outerwear or upholstery, not really for much else, I'm afraid. This is a scrap of orange velvet that also came from the school lot. I think it's just about 1 meter, and they had it with some cut and tape, so it was very clearly like a cut-in on stage, but it's such a nice colour in my palette, so I kept it. of course, I have a couple of cuts of red berry velvet. Most of them are about 1 meter or less, and 2 cuts of black velvet. They're just nice bits that I kept. And then finally we have a few random cuts of this bottle green velvet. So this velvet, this exact velvet, is one of the first few fabrics I ever worked with, because I made a Merida dress out of this velvet, and then I liked it so much that I bought more of it to make a different version of Merida that I never got around to do. The project was taking a really long time because I was embroidering something very difficult, and I just lost steam and interest. But the dress is still here, so this is actually a made-up dress because, well, some of it is just cuts, but this bit of it is an actual dress. And I have, in the back of my mind, I have an idea to try and refashion it into something else, because it is really nice, and it's basically like a strapless kirtle at the moment, because it's meant to sit here and then have like a band that goes across the shoulders. Ow, that's a pin. Okay, let's get that out of there. But yeah, this is one of the things that I do want to try and see if I can refashion into something else, because I think the fabric is beautiful. Oh yeah, it had a leg slit, I forgot about that. But I could just sew that up, so yeah, I kept it because I really like it. And then I have scraps from this project of the same velvet that I have been playing around in my head with the idea of upholstering my office chair in it. I think I have enough, and with a hot glue gun I think anything's possible. So if you'd like to see that absolute chaos of a video, let me know. But I'm very tempted, because I think office chairs are usually pretty boring unless you have like a really expensive one. And mine is a really expensive one, but I could also make it a really cute one. So yeah, that's my plan. So that's it for the velvets. So I have 2 more boxes. One is my special fabrics, and that's what I call it. They're just nice fabrics that I don't want to separate into different categories, and my silks. And then I have a couple of boxes of my utility fabrics, which are like interfacings and things like that I don't really categorize as anything else. So I won't show you those because they're boring, but I'll show you the nice fabrics for sure. Okay, so first box is the brocades in special fabric. This fabric, guys, I've had this for like 3 years now. It was on sale, it was a great deal. It's this golden silk with this black polyester thread embroidery. I got 8 meters of it because I really want to make an 1890s evening dress out of it. It's very lightweight, but I just think it's stunning, and it was a great deal. It was like £8 per meter. It was like an dead stock fabric, like, I just love it. And I'm thinking, like, you know, the kind of with some pleating here and then in the opposite direction some pleated tulle. I think it's gonna look pleated black tulle. Oh, I think it's going to be a gorgeous dress, and I really want to make it, and I've had it for 3 years, and I am going to make it, but I know that there'll be a Victorian ball that's the 1890s in the next 4 years, so I'm saving it for then. And then this fabric is a beautiful brocade. I think this light is too strong. Hang on. Can you see? That's worse. Okay, what if we do it like this, maybe? So this is a brocade. I don't know the fabric content of this, I can't remember. I bought it in Spain in the fabric shop that I always go to when I'm there. It was pretty pricey actually, so I only got I think 2 or 3 meters of this, but it's beautiful. And I looked at this and I said, that's an 18th century waistcoat. Like, there's just no doubt about it. It looks beautiful, and it really reminds me of that kind of embroidery. I have a couple of wild card, kind of more fantasy brocades. So I have this, which I think is beautiful. It looks like petals in a beige and gold lurex kind of thing. I love it. I bought this when I was in New York in 2016. Still haven't used it, but it's really funny because they only had 1 meter of it left, so I bought that 1 meter, and I wasn't really sure it'd be enough to do. But it can be, if you're doing like a fantasy inspired dress, it can be like a bodice or sleeves or something, mix and match texture fabrics, and that's also why I bought this. This is like a coral paisley brocade that I thought could also work for a fantasy inspired kind of dress. But that I got here in London, and it's the same with this. I really wanted to make like one of those sort of rain type dresses with this silver brocade. I just thought it was beautiful. This is some upholstery brocade. It's the same kind of fabric that I made my Jane Porter dress out of, but it's in white. I think it's just the meter of it. I don't know why I have this, to be honest, but I have it. I can't remember buying it. This is a scrap of this beautiful brocade that I bought in the Spanish shop a few years ago. I did make a medieval rain kind of inspired dress out of this, which I think I've sold now because it was a beautiful dress, but it didn't fit me anymore. And I loved the fabrics in it, but there was no point in keeping hold of it anymore. And then I have this brocade, very fine like diamond brocade in white. I think I told you that there was a fabric that I bought for an 1840s dress. It wasn't that one, it's actually this one. I just remembered as I was seeing it, this is the fabric I meant. I bought 5 meters of this, and it's meant to be an 1840s romantic dress with some like silk flowers, I think. This is a curious fabric that I bought also in New York in 2016. I have 5 meters of this, and I really wanted to make a hawala polonaise out of this. I don't know why, but in my head I saw it, I really wanted it, I bought it. And that's what it's going to be one day. I think it's polyester. It's like a polyester taffeta. I can do a burn test on it maybe later. But it's a polyester taffeta, but I just thought it would look super cool. Yeah, that plan's been in my head for a long time. I have a bunch of these fabrics that I bought in New York that are just wacky fabrics, because what I found was shopping here in the UK, there's a big variety of fabrics in Goldhawk Road where I usually go, but they're mostly plain fabrics. There's not a lot of interesting different fabrics, and when I first went to New York, that's what I found. So this is like a gold glitter kind of chiffon. I only bought like a meter of this. I thought I might make cool billowing sleeves. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's super cool. And I got 2 meters of this golden striped fabric, which I think would also be good for a fantasy kind of dress. Oh, this fabric. I bought this fabric in Spain as well, and I don't know what it is about it, but the texture of it is beautiful. It's like super lightweight and super see-through. It's a linen silk blend, I think. I bought 5 meters of it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's one of my absolute favourite fabrics. It just has a beautiful texture to it, but it's completely see-through and like super light. But this light is too strong. I don't know if you can see. Sorry about the lighting. It's just, there's a storm on, it's dark. This is also a New York fabric, and it's gold and purple. I don't know, I bought like a meter of it because it was cool. And finally, I have 2 cuts of this fabric, which I think totals just about 6 meters. And this is a poly satin that I got from my grandparents' shop in Portugal a long time ago. The shop closed down a long time ago as well, but my grandma still had some of the stuff. So this fabric has a lot of sentimental value to me. I've kept it for a long time because I know what I want to do with it. I just want to make sure that my skills are up to scratch. I want to make an Edwardian suit because I think it would look amazing. Kind of like the one in Titanic, you know, because she's got like that, but a different silhouette, I think slightly earlier, because I don't quite like the late Edwardian styles as much. So I think this would make a great walking suit. So that's what it's going to be. And that's it for this special fabrics / brocade box. There's some real gems in here. There's just fabric that's fun. I have a lot of utility fabric, so like plain colours and plain bits of fabric, but these are like the fun fabrics. These bring me joy, you know? So they're tucked away in this special little box by themselves, and I do have like plans for most of them anyway. I usually buy fabric with an intention, unless it's just like a really great deal. But usually I buy them with an intention, and I do usually like to conclude those intentions to actually pull through with those projects. But it just takes a long time, and I'm very much a whim kind of person, so I like to sew on a whim basically. So if I don't decide to make these things because I've got the whim to do them, then they probably won't get done. So yeah, but they are beautiful fabrics, and I think I kind of wanted to get back to do a little bit more fantasy inspired stuff, because I do think you get to do a bit more freedom in those, like, you know, you get to wear the wacky fabrics a bit more. So that is the plan. And that is it for my beautiful fabrics. Next we have the silks, also a great category. Silks. So these are just in IKEA boxes that sit on my Catalogue's very uninspiring shelf, but it's very functional and they are very roomy, so I quite like them. So first up we have a scrap. I keep every single piece of silk scrap. I love silk, but it's so expensive, I keep every single scrap. So this is a scrap of taffeta from my most recent Taylor Swift project. It's got enough here to add a little bit more trim to the petticoat, which I really want to make it more accurate for historical styles. I have here 3 beautiful meters of this Liberty silk. I know, Liberty silk, who is she? It's like this peacock feather kind of pattern. I got this on a potluck of discounted Liberty fabrics. It's 3 meters and I really want to make some really decadent silk pajamas. I don't have any, but I feel like they would be really bougie, and I think this pattern is really great for like silk pajamas. And obviously it's silk, so I probably should make something for outerwear, but realistically speaking, this pattern is not my kind of pattern and it's not my colour palette either, so I probably wouldn't get as much use out of it if I didn't do a pajama. So yeah, I've got a couple of meters here of a leftover cream dupioni. It was my first time using silk and I made an Edwardian blouse out of it. I've since sold on that blouse. I've got a couple of 1 meter cuts of this beautiful checkered silk. I actually thought I could make this into an 18th century petticoat to combine with different 18th century dresses, but because it has that kind of golden sheen to it, I think it would look nice with the blue fabric that I got out for the Polonaise, so that's a possibility. I've got 2 meters of this shot silk from like green and pink. Just bought because it was silk and it was discounted. That's gonna be the reason for a lot of these. Same with these 2 yards of red silk taffeta. These aren't big cuts, but you can make, especially for things like 18th century, you can make little jackets, you can make little vests or like bodices, or like you can mix and match. So there's a lot of freedom there. I've got a yard or so left over of this really beautiful gold and pink silk taffeta. I got this from Renaissance Fabrics in America. It was my first time ordering from them and I was super impressed with the quality of their fabric. It's beautiful. I actually got this because I was working on a project for a castle where I was making some costumes for them for an exhibition. I did actually make a video about that, but I never released it, so maybe I need to dip back into the archive for that. But yeah, I had like 1 meter of it left over, so I kept it because it was beautiful, and again, I can make something with it. This is the tiniest little scrap. It's like a quarter of a yard, maybe less. But this is just a lightweight silk dupioni that I used to make an 1840s corset. It's just a beautiful fabric, and again, I can use these to make like hat decorations or accessories or whatever. Like, I keep everything. And I've got 2 yards of these scraps of this beautiful red dupioni. It's like a burgundy deep red. I absolutely love it. Again, they were discounted, and that's why I got them. I've got, I think it's about 4 or 5 meters of this really lightweight silk. I don't know what kind of silk it is. Maybe it's definitely for lining. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's super lightweight. It's not chiffon, it's not organza, it's not anything like that. It's super soft and drapey. But I got this from Facebook Marketplace a few years ago. When I was first getting into sewing, I saw a listing for someone who is selling 5 rolls of silk on those rolls. And there was lightweight lining silk. They had cream, white, black and grey, and they were selling them for £60 for all rolls. And when I measured them, there was about 8 meters in most of them, so I snapped it up. It was great. So this is the grey from that. I've got the beige from that, which has 8 meters on them, and I've already used the white to line something, a coat I think, and I've also got the black in here somewhere, and that's also got 8 meters on it, so that was a great deal. I've got 4 meters of this yellow golden dupioni left. I used this to make my 1880s Jane Porter costume. There's enough left over there. I thought I could maybe squeeze out an Edwardian version of that costume. That's still in the back of my head. And I haven't made a Jane costume in like 2-3 years, so maybe it's time for a new one. I have 4 or 5 meters left of this silk organza in silver. This is what I used to make my breathed dress, so there's a big chunk of it left. It could be used, I think it could be used really complementarily to another silk I have further on the box to make like a 17th century costume with the big sleeves. I really want to make something like that, but I haven't quite gotten around to it again. I have the tiniest little scrap. I love this fabric. This is a silk and cotton blend from a shop in Goldhawk Road, and it just feels amazing. I bought 1 meter of it because it was so expensive, and I used it to make a little kerchief, an 18th century kerchief, and this is just what's left over of it. I will not part with it because I love it. And then I have this shot red silk with blue. It's about 1 or 2 yards, also beautiful, also in my stash because this is the black lining silk. Same kind of weight, has about 5 meters on it, great deal. This is like a tiny little scrap from the 1860s quartered silk taffeta in blue. It's an okay fabric, it's not my favourite, but again, don't throw anything away. There's 2 yards of this kind of deep blue periwinkle Dupioni silk. It's not very slubbed, so it's quite nice. I have 1 meter of this like kind of papery teal silk. I saw this in New York and it was one of my very first few contacts with silk, and I just thought it was super cool. In my head it's always been an 18th century jacket. We'll see. I have 4 meters of this silk Dupioni in blue. This is also from my grandparents in Portugal. It has sentimental value. I don't know what to do with it. It's there. And then I've got 10 meters of this shot peach and green silk taffeta. I bought this from an online shop, and they came with one of the cut I received of 5 yards was super stained. There were stains all over it, and so I contacted them and they very quickly and very nicely replaced it, but they said I could keep the other one. So now I have 10 meters. So that's cool. My intention with this was to make a robe à la française with like the billowing. To me, this is a super mermaid-y kind of fabric. So I think that's the vibe for it. But I kind of want to make a more daring like robe à la française inspired by, I don't know if you guys follow her online, but she's called, what is she called? Something courtesan. Yeah, she's super cool and she makes amazing stuff, and that's kind of the vibe I wanted to go. Not like a super strictly historical robe à la française. This is some lightweight orange silk that I bought. It was discounted on Etsy on a sale. I loved it. I see it as a big Victorian ball gown. Do you guys know that orange ball gown with the big black lace? That's what I see in my head. Don't know if I'll ever make it, but it's in my head. And this is the silver tissue, silver taffeta fabric that I also bought because it was heavily discounted, that I see for a 17th century gown along with the other silver fabrics I have, and I also have some metallic silver lace for it. So like all the things are ready for that, but I just don't have any undergarments from that century. So I feel like I need a break before I can dive into making a whole set of clothing for a different century. And then I have this, which is 12 meters of this super cool handloom fabric in like this coral. It's silk. I bought it because it was heavily discounted from an Indian shop on Etsy. It came all over from India. I think that shop has sadly closed since because I tried to dig them out the other day and it was gone. But this fabric was beautiful and it was super discounted, and I saw it as a robe à la française, and one day it will be. So yeah, those are my silks. I've got a lot of them. Whenever, again, that's just my motto for everything, is whenever it's on sale and if it's a good quality fabric that I can see myself using, I snap it up. So I hoard them like a little dragon. And I have a lot of plans for things. So it's not like they're just languishing here. I am aware of them and I really love them. I just, you know, sewing takes a really long time, and so I can't make everything. Ugh, it's a very full box. And that is it. Thank you so much for coming along on this little like fabric tour of the new sewing room. It's also really motivated me to put things away, so thank you for that. And yeah, I'm really excited about all of these projects. As I showed you in the beginning of the video, I was making my little fabric catalogue, and I have done it. Not all fabrics are in here, like the shorter cuts when it's just a fat quarter or whatever, I didn't cut them off. But anything that's a bigger length of fabric that could be useful is on here, roughly organised by tone and type of fabric, roughly. But now I just need to get a nice folder to put that in, and then hopefully that'll really help me remember what I have in my stash, because as I said last year, that's one of my main goals now in my sewing, is to use things from my stash, and I did really well this year. I purchased very little fabric, so I want to keep that into 2025. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you let me know what of all the projects I mentioned, which one spoke the most to you, let me know, because maybe that'll be enough to push me in that direction. I'll see you all very soon.